introduce to you your host and our Consul General, Mrs. Rudrawatee Ramgoolam, to address you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Reverend Bishop, elders of the Spiritual Baptist Faith, other members of the congregation, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
That's not as loud as the song.
Good evening.
We need to hear it again.
Good evening.
Great, that's better. I'll just talk a little bit about the Spiritual Baptists from our perspective, recognizing that we are all part of Trinidad and Tobago. The celebration of Spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day is an important one for the people of Trinidad and Tobago and members of the diaspora who happen to be you. It is important because many of our nationals belong to the faith. It is important because many of these nationals reside in the diaspora, particularly in the United States of America. Important because we as Trinidadians and Tobagonians need to know more about our people who have come from different parts of the globe with their culture and religion and have settled in Trinidad and Tobago many moons ago. And of course, from Trinidad and Tobago, we have settled in the United States as well. Important because of the sacrifice these nationals made to keep their religion alive in the face of all the adversities meted out to them. And last of all, it is important to learn more about this group who constitute a part of our very being. This particular group was brought to the Caribbean from the African continent, but more importantly, they brought with them their language, their religion, their culture, and their way of life as they practiced it at that time. However, they were forbidden by the plantation owners to live the life they were nurtured into. Plantation owners, recognizing that language, religion, and culture are powerful, empowering, and unifying tools, feared the Baptist practices would foment rebellion. Viewing their practice as being heathen, the then zealous Christian churches actively promoted proselytization to convert what they labeled heathen souls. The plantation owners therefore saw it as their sacred duty to ensure that their slaves were saved through the acceptance of the Christian church. This, as we know, was done by force. To maintain and sustain their cultural practices, the displaced Africans engaged their religion in secret. One shame. In public, they used synchronization using their religious figures as a camouflage that represent other deities. For example, Mother Mary was worshipped as Azuli. Today, many Baptists also use figures of the Hindu goddess, Durga and Kali, in the same manner. But the story does not even end there, as the trial of the Africans moved beyond emancipation. One would have thought that it should have ended there, and of course it did not. The challenges experienced may have been a major cause for the old African religion to melt and merge with Christian Orthodox doctrine, which evolved into the spiritual and shouter Baptists we know today. Although there are Baptists throughout the Caribbean, only in Trinidad and Tobago are there spiritual and shouter Baptists. Over time, with greater awareness and understanding, many who had converted to the purest Christian churches sought and pursued the familiarity of their old faith. The public spectacle created by the loud street corner worship, the diminishing numbers of the Christian church, and the unpalatable association with old African ways brought about a lobby that caused the 1917 government ordinance to be enacted. All Baptist worship was strictly forbidden, and the ordinance was harshly enforced with brutalities unseen since the days of slavery. The Baptists were driven from their places of worship, beaten, and even jailed. Today, their action speaks volumes about the resilience of the Baptists who defied all odds and practiced their faith again in hiding. They sought secret meeting places in the hills and the country and taught their children the tenets of their faith, enduring its survival. During these dark years, I think we remember that labor leader, Tuber Uriah Buzz Butler, a major labor icon, declared himself a Baptist and held his industrial workers' meetings in the same form as a Baptist service. With the efforts of Elton George Griffith, the oppressive ordinance was repealed in 1951. But the general public of Trinidad and Tobago remained skeptical about this religion. The manifestations of bell ringing that you saw here earlier, seaside christening, and head coverings shrouded in a lack of understanding and mistrust. It was the government of the United National Congress, headed by the then Prime Minister, Basdeo Panday, and this government, United National Congress, is also now part of our current government that recognized the trials, challenges, and tribulation of this important group of nationals, and by the stroke of a pen, restored the dignity of the spiritual Shouter Baptists, which gave rise to their public acceptance and granted them a national public holiday to be celebrated on March 30th every year. The spiritual Shouter Baptist was also granted land in Meloni to build churches, schools, and a spiritual park. Tomorrow, Friday, 30th of March 2012, marks Spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day in Trinidad and Tobago, and I guess here too. And as you know, it is a public holiday back at home. Spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day is celebrated with pomp and festivity in Trinidad and Tobago. During the last week in Trinidad and Tobago, many organizations have been celebrating this event. Tomorrow will be a big day in our calendar in our motherland when our Baptist leaders, their followers, and our beloved Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, who is also a Baptist, will observe this event with all the ceremonies and the respect it deserves. Faith, tenacity, commitment, dedication, will, and stick-to-itiveness are the hallmarks and foundation of the Baptist believers. Baptist practitioners use symbols in their service to which we can all relate. These include candles and light, common to most religions, water, incense, flag. The flag is what the Hindus call the jhandi. You all know what the jhandi is? Right. The calabash, the tarriya and the lota, and flowers, also of great significance to Hindus. Not surprising that our National Library, NALIS, has etched the Shouter Baptists as the only indigenous religion in Trinidad and Tobago. You, our dear Baptist nationals, diaspora, and friends and believers, have passed the many tests with flying colors. You have passed the test of fire and brimstone. You are now stronger and more vibrant than ever, evincing the power of the Spirit as you sing, dance, and drum. We at the Consulate salute you, our Baptist brethren, for your determination. We salute you for adding a unique flavor to our cultural heritage. But most of all, we salute you for being you and for being proud of whom you truly are, for no one can take that part of your being. Therefore, as Consul General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in New York, I urge you to go brave into the world. Preach your gospel on the rooftops and on the mountains, far and wide, so that your message would help to nurture productive citizens who respect the beliefs and rights of others, who will contribute positively to the development of your respective homelands, that is, the United States of America, as well as Trinidad and Tobago. And so, on behalf of the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago, our beloved Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and her cabinet, I take this opportunity to wish all members of the spiritual and Shouter Baptist faith in Trinidad and Tobago and in the United States a joyous spiritual Shouter Baptist Liberation Day. I thank you all very much.